All right, everybody back in. Jonathan Jones, Brady Quinn, Danny Cannell. Brady, I'll start with you. What's his future here? And the second half of that is, how do you sort of grade his year?
You know, it's a hard question to answer, EK, because when you're thinking about the fact that they're shutting him down, it leads you to think that he's going to be their guy next year. But, you know, then the question arises about David Kellerman. Is he the general manager? Joe Judge, is he going to be the head coach depending on how the season ends? And I've got a lot of questions about whether or not he can be the guy. He's fumbled the football 36 times, and sometimes in 3 years. He's thrown 29 interceptions. He's got a problem in turning over the football for only starting and playing in 38 games in his career. That's an issue. And so it's a little bit curious as to why they're shutting him down, why they don't want to have him play a little bit more this season, unless it's because they want to protect him in the event that they want to move on from him. But they're still going to have to figure out the issue with picking up his fifth-year option and whether or not they want to commit to that. So it's a really curious situation because I don't know who's ultimately going to make the decision on his future, whether or not he's going to be a Giant in 2022. And I don't even know if he's going to be with the team next year. So maybe they're just protecting this asset at this point in time to figure out what they want to do when they regroup in the offseason.
Yeah, I think a lot of Giants fans are incredibly frustrated. I'm sure ownership is frustrated with the returns, but it feels like it's incomplete, like his entire career. You haven't really seen Daniel Jones at full strength with a healthy Saquon Barkley for very long, with an offensive line with some moves that some have panned out, most have not. Like, so he's really been playing behind a bad offensive line the majority of his career, and then this season cut short. But I still think, like, I think they're also probably surveying the landscape of what quarterbacks are coming out. Like, we've talked a lot about this in some of the mock drafts. There's not that surefire slam dunk guy that you would say, okay, if we're a top 5 selector or top 10, this is our future. That doesn't exist either. So you're probably hedging your bet somewhat there. Ultimately, I do think Daniel Jones is probably on the Giants. I don't think some of the members, I think Gettleman might be out. Judge, that's a tougher call. And then you're setting Daniel Jones back again if he has to learn another new scheme. It's been a mess. It's been absolutely mishandled. A lot of what the Giants have done over the past few years in Daniel Jones' tenure. And unfortunately, but he still shows you some flashes, but it's just incomplete, which is it's a cop out, but that's exactly what the majority of his career has been. It's just been incomplete. We haven't got a full picture of what he could be.
That's exactly right. Both of you guys said it perfectly in terms of there's so much uncertainty here. His health, his team's coach, his team's front office, his ability, his availability. And as we point out, the Giants have to make a decision on his option. It's $20 million. Yep. JJ, how does this work? When? What do you think they're going to do here?
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, Dave Gettleman will be out, and the new general manager will either be promoted from within, and the leader in the clubhouse there is Kevin Abrams, who's been with the team for almost a quarter century, or it's the field. It's basically Abrams versus the field. And talking with sources the past couple of weeks, the sentiment there is, as long as it's just sort of an average into the season, Joe Judge will certainly be returning as the head coach. I think both guys before me made fantastic points about how it's sort of incomplete with Daniel Jones. It's been a little unfair, all the offensive coordinators, all of the injuries, and Saquon Barkley, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, the Giants do have a decision to make. They don't have to make that decision until May. And because it is May on the 5th-year option, they're going to be able to have the draft, but not just the draft, because right now they're picking at 5th, and they also have the 6th pick as well, by virtue, of course, of that Justin Fields Chicago Bears trade in the last draft. But not only that, they have free agency in the middle of March. And I've written at CBSSports.com that the Giants should go all in on a top quarterback, that it will become available, potentially a Russell Wilson, if he certainly wants out of Seattle. They're going to have the ammunition in terms of draft capital to secure one of those top quarterbacks that may or may not want out of his current situation. And if you don't like the prospects in the draft, and you don't really believe in Daniel Jones, whatever the GM who's coming in, and you don't want to commit $20 million to him in his 5th-year option, that could certainly be an option. You could send Daniel Jones in a trade. You could hold on to him. He could be your backup, and then you can send him in a trade at some point in training camp, for example. A number of options are on the table. No clear path just yet.
That's right. Okay, so May, they have to make a decision. Likely that decision will be made by somebody who currently isn't the GM, and it will be after free agency, and who knows if they get a quarterback in free agency. So a lot of uncertainty with a guy that has now been shut down for the year. Very well done by our crew.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.